Hello, everyone. How are we doing today? Wow, it's a wonderful audience. Let's see if we got the first slide going. Uh-oh. There we go. Oh, let's go back. So, my talk today is on artificial intelligence, but it's also across many different boundaries, factors, different things that I've been studying and talking about for now decades. But the one thing to know about artificial intelligence is it's clearly the most important invention of our time, but it's also the most challenging invention of our time. And my slideshow disappeared. Anyways, that's the next slide. I'm also going to be talking about transhumanism, which many people around the world know me for my work. And we'll get into a little bit into what transhumanism is, but let me first tell you a little bit about myself. First off, I'm a candidate for California governor right now as a Democrat. And we have our primaries in about 6 months, so I've been running a full-fledged campaign, and I had a chance to come down here for Congreso Futuro, and had an amazing time for a few days in Antarctica and Punta Arenas. But I'm also a journalist by trade. I began at National Geographic. I've written extensively for the New York Times. I write now quite often for Newsweek. I'm also a scholar. I just finished my graduate degree in artificial intelligence in ethics at Oxford University. And beyond that, though, I've had some really interesting experiences, specifically with National Geographic at war zones. So I've seen what can happen when things go really bad. I'm quite certain that no matter how you look at artificial intelligence, it's going to radically change the world. It's going to modify our experience. And most importantly, it's probably going to come for our jobs. But I think the issue at hand, really, with AI is it going to be good or bad for humanity? And this is a much bigger question, a bigger question than any one of us can answer altogether. But certainly, what's important right now is that technology and society are moving together at an incredible rate. And if we don't start to try to get a hold of it, it's going to leave us behind. We're going to talk a little bit about acceleration of speed later, but right now it's just important to know that. It's also starting to define our realities. I have children, a 15-year-old and an 11-year-old, and they can't get off their phones. And then you mix that in with ChatGPT or whatever AIs are out there, and their perception is very much based in the digital world. Most of the adults in here have not had so much technology interaction as my 11-year-old has. And this creates different cultural nuances that will completely change the world. But my main take on not only AI and also on just planet Earth is really that I'm a transhumanist, somebody who wants to modify the human being with science and technology, and that means potentially integrating ourselves into AI. That means taking off human limbs and putting on robotic ones so that we can be stronger, faster. That means eliminating things in terms of even breathing air or maybe even eating. But transhumanism is a social movement of many millions of people around the world, really with headquarters sort of in Silicon Valley, where I'm from, that want to use radical technology to radically upgrade the human being. And I'm talking about uploading your consciousness. I'm talking about if your arm gets blown off in a war zone, putting on a robotic arm so you can touch and play guitar again with the Neuralink. I'm talking about disabled people using exoskeleton suits. You've seen some in the hallways. This technology is becoming commonplace. And very soon, it's going to be everywhere. But the most important thing, I'd say, both about transhumanism and AI, has to do with jobs. And that's really the message I want to convey to all of you today. I believe, and this is not going to sound good to anyone probably in this audience, that 90% of jobs will be lost probably within the next 5 to 10 years. In California, I would say 50% of jobs could be lost within a 5-year time frame. you're already watching coding, for example. They told us to code a long time ago in school, and now AI is doing all the coding. They told us to study architecture, but AI can build buildings in seconds. I trained as a journalist. Well, I can tell you right now, ChatGPT writes better than I do. And not only does it write better than I do, it writes in the way that I know how to write. It says, oh, scan all Zoltan's 300 articles, and yeah, I'll go ahead and, put out exactly what he sounds like. This is going to reshape the entire economy. So just imagine for a sec if 90% of the jobs were taken away, let's say in the next 10 to 20 years. I mean, we're talking about probably a depression of sorts, something like the world's never seen. We're talking about cultural transformation. Most of us identify with our jobs. So if you take away, my sense of what I'm doing, like I'm running for governor, let's just say you could take that away, replace it with AI, you probably will be able to. Where does that leave me? Where does that leave everybody else? So there are an enormous amount of problems with AI taking jobs, but at the same time, we're going to get into some of the benefits of it. In California, I support something called an automated abundance economy, and I also support a universal basic income. A universal basic income is first a platform that will establish a financial floor so that in case you lose your job to AI, you can have something that will feed you, give you health care, provide housing, let you keep your life going. But more important than that, I think, is the idea that we're going to have robots all around us. So we already in Silicon Valley have robots in people's houses, and I mean the robots you're seeing out here. These aren't very sophisticated here, but we have 6-foot robots in people's houses that are already able to unload the dishwasher in California, that are able to do some basic cooking, though that's still controversial. And the other night, I had a campaign event, and I got out at San Francisco, and I looked around me, and I saw 11 Waymos. Waymos, if you don't know, are driverless cars. But I saw no other cars. We don't even have taxis anymore in San Francisco at nighttime because they just don't make enough money. Waymos are cheaper, and they're all over the place. So already we have driverless cars really dominating San Francisco. But we're also going to have them in our houses. Probably within 1 to 2 years' time, they're going to start doing so many things. Walking your dog, cooking salmon and serving it to you. You're going to be like a servant in your house. And there are many, many companies working on this. This is a multi-trillion-dollar industry. So if robots, let's say they cost $20,000, $30,000 eventually, could come and do everything in your house, and they will within a few years' time, will that make your life easier? Of course it will, because each of us does about 10 hours of chores every week. So if something can save 10 hours of chores every week, then it's going to be excellent in terms of, saving you time. What do you do with that time? I don't know, you have free time, maybe learn the guitar, enjoy it with your friends. But the point is, robots in houses are going to absolutely start dominating our existence in terms of shopping for us, in terms of fixing the plumbing. And people may say, oh, they won't be able to do electrical or plumbing. This is wrong. In case you haven't seen some of the videos, the new hands of some of the new robots are actually more agile than human hands. And probably within 2 years, most of the best robots will be more agile than any Olympian on planet Earth. So we're talking about a complete revolution as soon as they start entering into our homes. What I think happens with AI and robotics and transhumanism is people underestimate how fast it's going. I'm guilty. Actually, I was here, and I'm going to speak about this in my next slide. I was here in 2018 speaking at Congreso Futuro, and I gave my forecast of robots and automation. This is before ChatGPT. This is before robotics. This is before anything. And I was underestimating how fast these things would happen. I never could have imagined in 5 years' time from 2018 Congreso Futuro, ChatGPT would be here. ChatGPT changed the world in many ways, because for journalists, all of a sudden it was like, wow, architecture, engineers, mathematics. All of a sudden this machine could be fed anything and do it. So people like myself, futurists, technologists, even candidates for governor, are constantly behind the curve of how fast technology is going. And this is really important, because whatever you think is going to happen in 5 years could very well happen in 2 or 3. And I saw that here when I spoke about it at Congreso Futuro. There I am in the Senate building. And I was forecasting that AI might be here in 2032. We would start using it. And here it came in basically 2022, 2023. I was actually at Oxford when it came. And it astounded both the professors. I was thinking about doing a PhD, but all of a sudden I thought, why do a PhD that an AI could do in 2 or 3 years' time and do better than me? And that presents a very large problem for everyone sitting in this audience. How do students actually plan to be competitive against a machine that is getting thousands of times smarter every year? Well, we probably can't. And that's why it's very important to support a universal basic income and government intervention. This is what's really important. And one thing I wanted to say for you, when I was here last time, I was a little bit more of a libertarian thinker, more of a freedom thinker. But I've seen how fast technology has come and evolved, and I've moved to the left. It's not moved to the left because of politics. Artificial intelligence is very similar to a world war, or very similar to aliens coming to planet Earth and visiting us. It's going to take the support of governments around the world to help us, because if 90% of people lose their jobs at some point, and robots will be able to do anything and everything. The jobs that will survive will be art. The jobs that survive will be the kinds of jobs that people want to have. Like if you want to go to Starbucks and you want a barista to serve you, a human barista, that will survive. But if you work in white-collar jobs in Silicon Valley, you're going to be wiped off the map. And we're seeing that. We're seeing a plateau in Silicon Valley right now of jobs. It's almost over. And there's this HB1 visa issue as well, which many of you may know about. They say it's a controversy of immigration in America. It's not a controversy of immigration. The controversy is the knowledge that AI and robotics will be here in 2 years in your houses, and that Americans no longer need immigration. And I know Chile has similar issues. The question is, will Chile need any immigration once you have a 6-foot-high robot that can do anything? It changes the dynamics of economics entirely. It's not politics. It's just there's an invention out there, as we started from the beginning of this slideshow, and we're like, wow, it's absolutely crazy. So I think we need more government intervention than we've ever had before. But if we do get enough government intervention, and the government intervention is sensible, now I know government intervention isn't always sensible, we could end up having an amazing world. I mean, it could be like a complete utopia. We could have very few people working. Nobody wants to work 9 to 5, grinding for somebody else who they become really rich. We might have all the time in the world. Might be able to just raise families, maybe be on the beach in the Bahamas, playing the guitar, reading books, maybe doing PhDs, but not PhDs because we need to get a job, but just because we love education. That's the kind of future I see with AI. One where is relatively workless. Again, I call this the automated abundance economy in my political campaign. It's this idea that we need to start planning for this. We need to start distributing resources more equally so that everyone can go forward in the world whether or not they can work. And they're not going to be able to work. If you've watched any of the Tesla bots or any of the new robotic videos, these things are going to outdo us in every single way, and they're probably going to be quite a bit smarter. So I think it's important to reimagine wealth as we look at that. But as we reimagine all these other things, let's look at some of the real dangers. Now, I'll be honest with you, there's no stopping AI, and the reason we can't stop AI is because if we don't develop AI in the West or in the democratic nation, China will, or Russia will, or some hacker will. So we have to move forward with this. It's kind of a catch-22. I feel like we're a bit on the Titanic. But that aside, if we end up going full speed as we are right now into AI, we have risks. One of the risks is that if you're not working, you might lose meaning in your life. This is valid. Another risk is that superintelligence. I'll tell you a quick story about superintelligence in a little bit. And then there was deep fake technology. I mean, you already are on the internet. You can see how much is unreal. And yet it's tricking people. My mother's living with me, and she's 80 years old. She gets tricked by the internet all day long. And probably we're going to be tricked within 1 year's time as all this fake content becomes so good that even the most discerning eye can't talk about it. However, it's still, it's still something that is hopeful. I'm still, despite those concerns, a big believer in AI. I actually don't want to work 9 to 5 for the rest of my life. I actually don't need to be a trillionaire. I actually want to reimagine what a world is that robots do all my work for me in my house, and maybe there's a basic income the government provides, so we have healthcare and housing, and I can raise a family. I mean, where do we get the money for the basic income? Sure, we get it from maybe land dividends. We get it from the companies that are becoming so wealthy, like OpenAI, Microsoft, Google. I mean, there's a lot of different ways to get all of us into this AI age, but I assure you, whatever happens, it doesn't involve us working, because it doesn't make sense to hire human beings when you could have robots that never have any liability, never call in sick, never complain, and robots can work 24 hours a day. I mean, the entire world is going to change. And where I live in Silicon Valley, there are people racing right now to create this type of these robot army workers so that we can all be replaced. But it doesn't mean it has to be a dystopia. I think it can be something beautiful. But let me just tell you, I have a minute left, a story that happened to me just recently. So because as a journalist and also as a candidate, I kind of hobnob with a lot of the tech people. I was invited to an AI symposium at a Max Novastern's house. He's Sam Altman's partner in one of the cryptocurrencies. So this is at the highest levels. They're all Silicon Valley giants. And it was 80 of the world's leading AI experts to discuss AI. Not one person in that room thought that within 2 to 3 years' time, we weren't going to create a super intelligence. And most of the coders in the room thought or believed already that we had already reached an AI intelligent that was equivalent to us. The reason it's not being fully released yet is because it says politically wrong things or it's racist or whatever, but it doesn't mean it's not hyper intelligent, able to solve math problems and things like that. It was very dystopic. I was scared. The creation of a super intelligence in 2 to 3 years' time is very similar to inviting aliens to planet Earth that are more powerful than us. Would any of us do that? Probably not. It doesn't make sense from both a military perspective nor a perspective of our jobs or anything like that. And yet, that's where we're going. I don't really have much advice for you today. My advice is to pay attention to people and politicians that are talking about this. One of the things I'm seeing is nobody talks about AI in the political world because it's so dangerous. It doesn't win votes. But just because it doesn't win votes doesn't mean we shouldn't be discussing what our options are. And a lot of our options are, at this point, probably the best one, a universal basic income, and trying to use robots to our favor. I definitely believe that that can happen, but I'm also very cautious about the creation of superintelligence and just the job loss and what it's going to create in the near-term economy to all of us. It's going to be brutal. But in the end, I think it will be in a magical world, and I'm glad to be alive right now. Thank you so much.